Hi, welcome to Nav's Comics. Hope you survived the experience. So, this is going to be I was going to say year in review, but it's more of a recap of the X-Men mythos from 2021. Now, this is going to be a long one, and so hopefully I figure out how to split this out into chapters so you can take it in piece by piece. There will also be spoilers in here for all the books that had come out. So just kind of a heads up to that. If you don't want spoilers from books from the last year, then don't watch this then. All right, so I'm gonna be also looking a lot at my monitor because I have a lot of notes to go through because I just could not remember everything. I wanted to do this. It was a lot of work. Don't know if I'll do it next year, but let me know if you enjoyed it. I may just cut it to the very end, which is so I'm gonna go series by series, just sort of talking about what had happened. And then I'm going to have a top 5 storylines and a top 5 of the titles. So, all right, let's get into this. So, X of Swords was the event from 2020. Pretty long running, and that ended around November, I think late November of 2020. So a lot of this picks up from there and deals with some of the repercussions from that storyline. However, in 2021 there weren't really many events, so at least that the X-Men mythos partook in. There was the King in Black, and so there was a spin-off series for X-Men in that. I'm not going to cover that one. It was pretty minor. And then there was the Hellfire Gala, which was the event for the X-Men mythos, but it wasn't one where I don't know, it wasn't as much of an event. It was sure an event, but just more or less interesting, whether you felt it was done well or not. It definitely not as big as King in Black, or not as world impacting as Empire, whatever you thought about those, but so it's a little bit more minor. So there was also a tie-in. I don't have it written down here. To the Last Annihilation from Guardians of the Galaxy. So the comic Sword had a tie into that, but none of the other comics did. So that's that. So that's it for the events. So maybe 2022 we'll see more in terms of events. I don't know. All right, so we'll start off with Cable. Whatever, I'll leave that there for now, I guess. I'm just going to show some of the covers as I go along here. So, Cable's issues 7 through 12, and that's where the series ended. That was from 2021. This is young Cable, and he's attempting to save mutants from abductions. This led into a confrontation with Strife, and then the series ended with issue 12, and I'm not sure if it was 11 or maybe it was 11, where they actually resurrected the old Cable, brought him back to assist him with facing off against Strife, and the two of them did that successfully, and young Cable returned to the future. So I guess we're done with him. They did have another issue after this, Cable Reloaded, but I don't remember exactly, where things occurred. Like whether maybe young Cable went to the future there. I don't know. But essentially, is like writing the timeline for Cable, and I did enjoy young Cable, especially his love interest was with Esme, one of the Cuckoo sisters. So I guess that's that. I'm not sure where they're going to go from there, but that's Cable. Now there was the Demon Days books from Peach Momoko, and I decided to not cover that because it's out of continuity. It was interesting, it's her essentially creating a separate mythos with these X-Men characters, but in a whole nother way. Like it's just completely, I don't even know how they could even merge it into the. You might bring Miles Morales from the Ultimate Universe, or not might, but they did, into the mainstream. I can't see where they would do something like that with what she's working on. All right, so then next we have Helions. Oh, sorry. There's another one actually. I kind of skipped over. I was pulling a lot of my books out of my collection, and I just didn't grab the Children of the Atom. So there were 6 issues of Children of the Atom. It's a series that's delayed for about a year, and unfortunately, it was a huge letdown for me. So I think that Strange Academy is such an amazing series, so I recommend you read that if you don't. But like when Teen Titans Academy came out, I was hoping for something in the same vein, and I just didn't find it there. And I was really hoping to find it in Children of the Atom, and I didn't find it there. It was just really underwhelming, which is unfortunate. And it's just a series about these kids who somehow get they actually do explain it in the last issue, and I don't remember, but they get technology that allows them to like mimic the original X-Men's powers. You know, as a spoiler, I've already warned you about spoilers. One of them turns out to be a mutant. So, okay, I guess that was the point of that. All right, so on to. I'm trying to do this alphabetically, and I'm already messing up here. Yoink. All right, Excalibur. There we go. So Excalibur in 2021 is starting off mourning the passing of Betsy Braddock in X of Swords. Now, she didn't die in a normal fashion. She was like shattered into glass. It was a weird sort of magical thing that occurred. And so, to no surprise, she's not dead, but she's like lost in another universe, another dimension, I guess. Because the Britain core spans the multiverse, right? So she was in another dimension, and Betsy Braddock, I'm sorry, Psylocke, aka Quanon, had to go rescue her. And I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I think she tried to bring her back. She eventually did come back, and it was just kind of a whole thing. I feel like I'm gonna be missing pieces, but right. So, and then also, unfortunately, well, I did like the ending of the X of Swords. It did result in Apocalypse leaving the Marvel Universe in a way for a while, and so that meant he was removed from the Excalibur book. And I really enjoyed his presence in the series because he's an old school villain. He's definitely knowledgeable, and he ultimately wants what's best for mutants. And so it was just an interesting, and he kind of guided them in a way. He's the one that created this connection to the other world that the Excalibur series has dealt so much with, and now he's out of the picture, unfortunately. So then we have the Hellfire Gala. There's one issue for that, and it has. I was gonna say not much happened, but actually, Shatterstar returned, and he and Richter kind of are together again, which is cool. I didn't read X Factor from the Peter David era, which I believe is when they had become an item, but still kind of neat for them to reunite. But also, Pete Wisdom was sacrificed in this issue, so that's, I guess, somewhat significant. And I don't know if anyone knows it. I'm not sure how the Xavier works. He should know if he's no longer backing someone up, right? So they should know that he's dead, so they resurrect him. But I don't believe they've resurrected him yet. All right, so now they went back to the other world, and there was an issue where Dr. Doom, I was going to say needed their assistance, but he more or less wanted, I don't remember exactly what he wanted, because he's very much not someone that's going to request help. But there was an item he wanted in the other world, and so he used Excalibur to go retrieve it. And there's this thing in the other world where they're kind of like on Earth, they don't like mutants, they call them witchbreed. So they're trying to address that. There's, I think, the son of King Arthur is kind of an evil character in the other world, and maybe a mutant, so they kind of tie them together in a way, they group them together. All right, so that is Excalibur. Scroll down my sheet here. All right, so Helions. Also one thing I haven't noted. So technically, I haven't received any of the December books, so I've not read them. So really, when I'm talking 2021, it's through November. So just kind of a side note. So here we have Helions. So covering issues 8 through 17. Here they returned from the other world, which is where the Exoswords took place. And the original Mr. Sinister, who had sent them all through with his clone, murdered all the ones returning. And so they were backed up, I believe, from before the Exoswords, and so they don't remember what had happened there, which was Mr. Sinister's goal. All right, so my notes are out of order here. So they had faced Arcade. So we moved on to the situation where I believe Sinister sends the Helions off to do something. I can't remember what, but they're apprehended by Arcade with the assistance of Mastermind. Turns out that Sinister had already been working with Mastermind. Arcade thought he had control of Mastermind by by threatening his daughter's life. And but it turns out that Mr. Sinister had actually been working with Mastermind. I don't know. Essentially, Sinister wanted to infiltrate Arcade's setup because he had some cloning technology that Sinister wanted, something like that. But anyway, it was an interesting storyline. I think the Helions in general has just been pretty interesting. So then there was the Hellfire Gala, and it was enjoyable. Like the Helions, they're this crew of misfits, and they weren't invited to the gala, but they went anyway, and just were misfits there. It was enjoyable for what it was. They had a callback where Wildchild, sees Aurora. So from Alpha Flight days, where Wildchild, I don't know if they ever dated, but I think he was in love with her, and so there was that, and the tension was there, and Wildchild's pretty interesting. He's very, primal, very feral, but he sees Quanon as I'll say maybe a mother figure. Like, she has his respect as a as a fierce warrior. So, all right. So then we knew from very early on, maybe the start of the series, that Psylocke, aka Quanon, so not Betsy Braddock, was working with kind of doing the bidding of Mr. Sinister on this Helions team, because Mr. Sinister had a digital copy of her daughter. I'm not sure if he was promising to give her life, why that was taking so long. Like, I don't know what the delay was there, but he had a copy of her. They go through this whole thing. They face the Tarn, the Uncaring from Morocco, which seems like a real badass. And there's these, other people that were like servants of Tarn, and so they're battling and whatnot, and ultimately they get them to flee, and then Sinister reveals that they created a clone, a chimera, between Sinister and Tarn. So that's what Mr. Sinister brought back from Morocco, from going from the other world to Morocco, brought back DNA of Tarn, so he'd create a clone for himself, so he'd become even more powerful. And they wanted Havoc to destroy this whole system that housed that, but Psylocke was like, no, wait, but that's where my daughter is. You can't do that. So they weren't going to. But then Empath, who's kind of been, he's been the black sheep of this whole group all along. And then he kind of is persuasive through emotions or whatever, but he makes Havoc destroy this equipment. And so to make it so Mr. Sinister's plans don't come to fruition, but the side effect is that Psylocke's daughter is now gone. So now when Empath did that, he told Sinister something like, Emma says hi. And then we later see a scene, I don't remember where that was, but where Emma and Empath are talking, essentially really revealing that he was there under her order. But we're kind of left not knowing what Empath, because he's not one that makes connections emotionally with people. So maybe where you get these misfit teams and they start to gel eventually, but Empath never gelled, and so now we're seeing signs that maybe there will be a gelling occurring, even though what he just did really pissed off everyone. So who knows? At least he seems to feel really alone, I guess. All right, so that is the Helions. I need a sip of water. This is a lot of talking. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not like droning on. It's too boring. So, but anyway, let's just say we're halfway through. But I don't know if that's true or not. One thing I didn't talk about, I guess, with the Helions. So, the end of the year, we have Nanny has this new mechanical baby. I don't know, and that baby gets stolen from this group of people this group of anti-mutant people. And Peter, aka Orphan Maker, goes on this homicidal spree to rescue that baby. While the Helions they find out about that after he's already gone, and so kind of screws up that whole kill no human thing. But this is a group of people that are anti-mutant and are looking to kill them. But there's apparently special technology going on with this baby, so I don't know what that's all about. We shall see. Alright, so now we have Inferno. I've only read 2 issues. But so here we have Hickman going back to the new X-Men's mythos. A lot of this, and we have Krakoa, we had all the stuff that Hickman did that established this new X-Men mythos thing, or whatever. I just call it the mythos, as a whatever, whole embodiment of what's going on. But then, stories just splinter off and go everywhere. And so this brings us back to the core, which is really Moira McTaggart. And all along, she's had this concern about Destiny being resurrected. So she's been always like hammering it to Xavier Magneto. She cannot be resurrected. But Mystique has been like going on, I think I'll get to this later, but she's been going on suicide missions. So like she's dying for Destiny to be resurrected, literally. She's doing these things to try and get them to resurrect her, but they won't. So at the very end of this issue, we see Destiny returned. And not only returned, but she's voted into the Quiet Council of Krakoa. So that was really cool. Also, like a side note, they they resurrected her younger. Like, she used to be like very old, much older, like gray hair and everything. Like, I don't know about that, right? But so now she's a young woman again. And right. So that was super cool. Issue 2 was really all about how that resurrection occurred, like what Mystique did to get that to happen. It was pretty interesting, but really it's just, I won't say, it wasn't just all exposition, but in a way it's just explaining all the events that occurred that brought Destiny back. I don't remember the specifics about this, but one interesting thing was like Destiny, her power is foresight, right? And so she is born, it's like she's born again, and then it's just like dumped with foresight, like so she spent days trying to I guess control the power, I guess, or at least for that flow of information to slow down, because it's already there now. But it was pretty interesting. At the end of issue 2, they have there's one other Quiet Council seat that was open, and they voted in Colossus, which they made it seem like a big deal. I don't really see it as a big deal, except, and this might be why, but X-Force number 24, and we'll get to that later, he's revealed to be like psychically or mentally compromised. So that is something. But anyway, this was a really really enjoyable series. I'm looking forward to reading issues 3 and 4. And yeah, I hope it has a good ending, because I think that's the last we'll see of Hickman for a while. Right, so now we have Marauders. So Marauders, we're covering issues 17 through 25. So in 17, Storm faces off against Callisto in the Crucible. So the Crucible being this like arena on Krakoa where mutants will fight to the death so that the person that died can be brought back with their powers. Because long ago there was this M day where no more mutants, and like 99% of the mutants out there lost their powers. And so this was a way. It seems kind of weird, right? But this was something that Apocalypse had decided to do. So he wanted it to be a tournament of strength. At least I'm not sure how it works, because clearly the person that enters wants to die. Usually it's not two people that lost their powers. It's like one mutant, one non-mutant. It's just sort of weird. But anyway, this is a fight between the two of them. But what's really cool, because they have this history, and it's not a history of a bond. It's a history of like they're each other's antagonist. So they've, and I don't think it's been like that always, but it's been like that for a long time. I think a while ago they did kind of make up and helped each other out. But it was pretty cool here where Callisto goes to Storm saying, I want you to be the one that frees me. So, yeah, that was really cool. And then we have I believe when we look, this is where Storm leaves the Marauders. I don't think we know at this point why, but we do find out later. It's because she becomes the regent of Mars, or the now Arakko as planet Mars. Then we have the Hellfire Gala. I paged through it. I couldn't really see what was the story. I don't know. It was mainly just a lot of the guest appearances, all the people at the gala. You had Doctor Strange with magic. It was kind of neat. Captain America and Cyclops talking. It's kind of cool to see Guardian there from Alpha Flight, especially since we've learned later, and I don't remember where. I don't cover it anywhere in this video, but Guardian turns out is working for Project Orcus, which is something I'll get into a little bit later. But anyway, they're anti-mutant. So, and then finally, they go to space, as all X-folk are wont to do. But, it's still pretty good. It's pretty fun. All right. New Mutants. All right, okay, I don't know. I don't think I have the cover for this one. I didn't grab all the covers. I just have a selection of them. So, in the New Mutants issues 15 through 23, we have another Crucible challenge. This is between Donnie and Karma. Now, Karma had her powers, and she's the one that wanted to die, but she's been housing her twin brother's, psychic entity in her body for a very long time, I believe, and he's always been a villain. And so her goal through her death into being resurrected is that she and her brother would actually be resurrected separately, as they state that their backups have been taken separately. So now her brother have always been a villain, but one of the big things on Krakoa is that all these villains have been giving a second chance, which is pretty cool. We even have villains on the Quiet Council, so that's it's just kind of a neat concept. So yeah, we have them, and Danny really doesn't want to do it, but in the end she does. Later, after Karma's resurrected, although I don't remember, they don't really talk about her brother being resurrected. I missed it, or I missed it. I don't remember. But Karma and Danny go to the other world to rescue a missing mutant. Turns out that they were fine all along. Then there's another piece where, actually another thing kind of like all along is that Gabby, aka Honey Badger, so X-23's little sister, has been, you know, with some like outcast friends, and they've been kind of under the guidance of the Shadow King, and Gabby's kind of been having an issue with that. But then later she's found dead, and her friends try and resurrect her. So they, you know, at that point they're like, all right, you know, we need to bring our friend back. Even though they kind of pushed her aside for the Shadow King, you know, when they, I guess they realized the loss that they had with Gabby dying, they wanted to bring her back, but they were scared to do it through the official process because Gabby's a clone. And like, well, we don't know if they'll bring a clone back. So they kind of tried to do it on their own. Eventually they got caught, but then they ended up resurrecting her anyway. If I recall, she doesn't know how she died, which is pretty commonplace. Like, you know, with the backups that they do, it's not like they'll ever get the backup at the moment before they die, you know. So I'm not sure if they know how she died, but ultimately though, there's the whole concern about the Shadow King at this point. So the New Mutants like Danny, Karma, Magic, Warpath, and Rain, they go to confront the Shadow King, and he takes them into these psychic battles of what he feared. Like, you don't know this at first, but it turns out he's saying that these are all the things he fears happening to Krakoa. So he's really putting on this front of, I'm trying to do what's best for Krakoa. Of course, now that's what a lot of villains do, right? Like they always think that their actions are in the best interest of everyone. Maybe not all villains, but it's a pretty common concept. But I did find it pretty interesting. It's either, you know, he's either sincere or sinister. Like, and I don't know what. Like, I feel like I want him to be sincere, but maybe I'm being naive. And of course, if you're reading this and you read that series, you probably already know the answer, and I just don't know yet because I haven't read the December book yet. So, all right. So, New Mutants has been pretty enjoyable. I'm kind of curious. Like, almost like I want them to go back to space because there's the whole Sunspot and Cannonball Shi'ar things. All right. So now we're on to Sword. So technically issue 1 was in 2020, but the rest of the series 1 through 9 is, you know, from this year, and I guess 10 and 11 also this year, and I haven't read those yet. So anyway, so I'm a little bit more behind on this one, but this is where the X-Men establish an orbital presence in space. Of course, this orbital is probably in space. On the Peak, which is okay. Well, anyway, on the Peak with portals to Krakoa. So the Peak, and like they got this like plant growth kind of on this space station, which is kind of weird. Like even from external, like you can see it. It looks cool, but it just seems kind of weird. But the Peak was the original space station of this Shield subdivision called Sword. And back then, Brand I think was like the director of Sword, but now I think it was like defunct for a while, and now the X-Men just kind of repurposed it for their own use, and they brought Brand back to man it. You know, she's a mutant. I can't remember what her powers actually are, but anyway, yeah. So she heads it up, and there's like a new, I guess I'll say, team, kind of like the people that are operating the station, formed of young Cable, which of course he's no longer around, but I think old Cable kind of stepped in. Frenzy, an old X-Factor villain. Fabian from the, was that Acolytes? And then WizKid, I don't remember where he's from. And then Manifold, which we've seen a lot of. He's the teleporter. Fabian also eventually leaves. I don't remember if he was like let go from that group or not, but all right. So this theory. Oh, speaking of Manifold, here he is. Oh, whatever. The series started strong. Then it had, you know, the tie-ins with King in Black, which was, I guess, neat in a way because from their perspective, the Earth was, you know, covered in darkness, and they couldn't get in or out, except maybe through the teleportation portals. I don't remember if those worked or not. Yeah, maybe Manifold teleported them down. I don't remember how that all went. And then there was a tie-in with The Last Annihilation with Guardians of the Galaxy. And that one was pretty cool. I kind of liked it. It was neat because at one point, it kind of tied into the Hellfire Gala. Like, you had Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon come to the Sword Station. I think Star-Lord went to the Gala. I don't think Rocket did. But Rocket met Cable. Or maybe it was vice versa. Like, Cable met Rocket. And Cable knows Rocket from the future and has like huge amounts of respect for Rocket. So that was kind of super cool to see. Just, you know, really good writing there. And then yeah, so this is just the Last Annihilation tie-in. So, you know, Cable leads the team out there. There's also another character on this team actually I forgot about. She's from Morocco, and I can't remember what her name is actually. Then we have an issue where Storm is essentially defending her right to be regent of Arakko, of Mars. You know, this Arakko community of mutants who had been like separated from Earth for a very long time, they're very like warrior based, very much strength based. And so Storm faces off with a number of opponents, but ultimately she faces off against Tarn the Uncaring and defeats him, which is just nuts. And it's not even all about her electrical powers. I think it may have even come down to her martial abilities. Abilities, her martial skills. So that was really cool. I really dug that. All right. So then we had the Trial of Magneto. So this is about the death of Scarlet Witch, and Magneto's accused of being the one that does it. The X-Men, they invite the Avengers to Krakoa, which is the first time they've been there. It took me back a second because I was like, well, wait, they were at the Gala, but the Gala actually was not on Krakoa. It was on a separate island that Emma Frost owns, I believe. So this one, I don't know, we discovered that Scarlet Witch probably isn't dead. There's something going on there. Honestly, I felt like the timing of this series was just off. Like, because this series and the Inferno series are side by side, like they're parallel, and maybe at the very end there's a reason why, but I feel like it's just kind of a, why did they do that? Like, why not? I don't know. It had to do, you know, maybe it had to do with the timing of when Hickman can do stuff. Of course, he could have written it and they just delayed it for a while, or you know, they could have produced it, the comic, and sat on it for a little bit, but. Whatever, it just seemed odd. Like, my interest in this series is much lower compared to Inferno, and my enjoyment of this maybe suffers because of that. But yeah, so at this point, like, I don't know too much. You know, you have her kids, Scarlet Witch's kids, pissed off. You know, Quicksilver's pissed off. You know, trying to attack Magneto. Magneto's refusing to. You know. He's flipping out too. Like, you guys are accusing me. He's like, screw you guys. Like, I'm going on the offensive now. Like, that kind of thing. Like, he's not just sort of being like, oh yeah, just you know, read my mind or whatever. You know, like, he's not letting them do anything like that. So I guess we'll see what happens. All right, then we had a new series, Way of X, and This is a short series, just 5 issues, and then it's followed up by a separate comic called Onslaught Revelation. It starts off with Nightcrawler trying to like pair his religious beliefs with this mutant's new ability to just resurrect on, you know, at a whim, really. But then it turns into a desire to kind of create a religion but maybe not so much because he's very religious as it is, very Catholic. So I don't know if it's really, because I think they use that word like a new mutant religion, but I think what it's trying to do is just find values for people to hold that take resurrection into consideration, because like he noticed that some mutants were dying just to go through that experience of resurrection. So he and Legion being Xavier's son, discover that there's some kind of dark presence in Krakoa, and they discover that it's this villain Onslaught. Now, as we find out at the very end that Onslaught was like embedded, or maybe like a portion of his psychic entity was embedded in this one mutant, and so when that mutant died and was resurrected, they came back with Onslaught in them, and then from there Onslaught kind of spread, and so there's like this whole psychic battle thing, and they deal with it. They kind of imprison him. But one notable thing is that I'm moving down on my notes here. Oh yeah, one notable thing is that it seems to lead into a new series called Legionnaires, and I don't know when we'll see that. It's supposedly sometime 2022. I've not seen it in the listings yet, so may not be till like Q2 of 2022. We'll see. Really rambled on there without showing you all these pictures. Here's the Hellfire Gala. At that one, Nightcrawler was just kind of drunk and talking to everyone, and they were getting annoyed by him. So here we have Nightcrawler and Legion, and then the Onslaught Revelation one shot. So, all right. Oh, I mean, it was an okay series. Another one. Nope, we're not there yet. We're almost there. All right, so now we have Wolverine. Wolverine issues 9 through 17 starts off where we have Wolverine saving Maverick from a black market auction. They're selling, like, they had a hand of Wolverine there. I think maybe that was why he was there, but I think they were also selling Maverick. They had him somehow mind controlled or something, but Wolverine, or like memory wiped, really, and Wolverine saves him. I don't know when the last time we saw Maverick, though. Like, I think technically he was in issue 8, but prior to that, I don't know if we had saw Maverick in quite some time. Maybe 5-10 years, I'm not sure. So, all right, then we have, like, earlier than this, we had a lot of Wolverine versus vampires story going on. So we're back to that. Dracula wants Wolverine's blood, no surprise. They want with his blood they can live in the daylight. So Omega Red has been kind of a part of the whole vampire thing for a while. Not like on their side. He's just been, I don't know if he's been what's the term? Doing like their bidding. So whatever. I don't remember the details of that. I didn't write it down. So anyway, Omega Red's involved. But they defeat the vampires. It was alright. And then we have the Hellfire Gala. This is really the second part, I believe, of from the X-Force Gala issue. So here they're attacked by Terraviridians, who are the plant people or whatever that are having issues with the mutants of Krakoa and their whole plant thing. Like really, with Hickman's new X-Men, plants are the big deal, right? So anyway, at the end of this one, we find that Christian Frost is murdered. And so like when I was like, oh yeah, I remember that he got murdered here. Whatever happened with that? Well, it didn't even click with me. I believe Solem probably is the one that did it. Now, of course, Christian will get resurrected, but now Wolverine is after Solem, who's an Arakko mutant, and he stole some Shi'ar logic diamonds. We didn't necessarily know that he did it right away. We first, I think, believed that another Arakko pirate called Blackmore is the one that did it, but it turns out he's not. We get a lot of history about Solem, which is kind of cool. We really see how capable and how manipulative he is. So that was interesting. He had actually even been on Krakoa and stolen one of the I forgot his name. Is it? I'm gonna mess it up. Like I was gonna say Murakami, but no, that's not it. Muramoso swords. So in the X of Swords, there's this one like blacksmith who created the sword. It's one of the only things that could kill Wolverine because part of his soul's in it. Well, he created 2 of these for Solem and Wolverine for X of Swords battle, and so in the end they each had one. Well, during a fight, Solem like essentially gives up one of his swords to get away, and Wolverine's like, "Why in the world would he give up a sword?" He gets back home and he's like, "Well, where's my sword?" Well, it turns out Solem already stole it. So Solem already had 2 of them, and then essentially just gave one back up to Wolverine. Anyway, and then we end the year with Wolverine and Maverick teaming up again. I don't remember what that's all about. I mean, it's whatever. It's fine. All right. Oh yeah. So here, another series I don't have well, I have it, but I'm not going to display it. But X-Corp. So we have it's a 5-issue series. It was all right. It's the creation of the X Corporation, which is led by Angel and Monet St. Croix, aka M. One, I guess, interesting thing is they both have like alternate, darker personas. We have Archangel, and then Monet has Penance. I mean, it comes out a little bit in the story, but not too much. I mean, I guess Penance comes out a lot more. But, we're told that... All right, water time. We're told that the Matrix dupes are doing the majority of the work at this corporation. We do discover, like, towards the end, I believe original Matrix gets killed, but all the dupes remain. So that was kind of, like a surprise to all the dupes. So, we don't really know where things go from there. So in addition, we have some other, I guess, characters involved with the storyline. Are Selene, the vampire, whatever, the vampire. Mastermind, who we saw in Helions, and Trinary. And all 3 of the Trinary is like a younger mutant, and not a villain. The other 2 are villains, right? So all 3 of those are added to the board of directors of this X Corporation. And then through the series, their main opponent, or the main antagonist, is Nobilis Pharmaceuticals, which is, I believe, led by Fenris. So these, I believe they're the twin children of Strucker, Baron von Strucker. So not great people. And they are mutants, but they decided to kind of just still be on their own, do their own thing. Alright, so that's X-Corp. Alright, so we have X-Factor starting with issue 6, going through 10, and that's where the series ended. This was an alright series. I'm not sure if they intended to end this one at 10, or if there just wasn't much interest. I kind of like that some of these X-Men titles just are short-lived. As long as the whole momentum of all these different storylines keeps moving in a way. So X-Factor really was about investigating the deaths of people to essentially confirm that a mutant had died so they can be resurrected. Because they don't want to resurrect a mutant that may be lost, unable to be backed up. So they want to confirm that they're dead. But I guess the second half of this really turned out trying to investigate why this character Siren keeps dying. She's dying over and over. People ask her about it. She's very standoffish. But it turns out the goddess of death, Morrigan, had made a deal with her so that she would keep dying, I guess in a way to give Morrigan her fill. I don't remember the exact details. Siren was looking to save someone, I believe, when she did this. But Polaris was involved with that. I don't remember where that all went, how that all went down, but they saved the day. And we have, iBoy was pretty cool in the series, I gotta say. They gave him a lot of credit. They really put his sight powers to use, which is pretty cool. So, then we ended with the Hellfire Gala issue. My notes, stuff happens, you know, like Hellfire Gala, like not a lot. I mean, some things happened, and there's something very notable that happened in this book. But overall, it's just like, you know, it's kind of a fun little read. I mean, maybe a little reminiscent of the old school X-Men baseball game that they would have at the mansion. But I mean, that was a little bit more down to earth than the Gala, but whatever. But however, the notable thing that happened here is this is where Wanda was found dead. So, which obviously leads into the trial of Magneto. All right, so we have X-Force. So X-Force issues 16 through 24. Quentin Quire, he keeps dying. Why is he always dying? It turns out he's his own killer. Like, what the heck? And so it turns out that it's not exactly, you know, it's not him killing himself. Goes back to this whole like flesh factory thing, where very beginning of X-Force, there was a version of, they were being attacked by these people that had the abilities of Domino, and it's because they had Domino, and they were like using her parts to enhance these these clones or whatever. So this is the same villain here. I don't think they really give face to them, but they have, I guess they retrieved like a corpse of Quentin Quire, and we're using that to enhance whatever. It was all psychic stuff, right? So I don't remember if they're creating clones or if it was just using, like, reanimating that corpse to use its abilities to mess with Quire. But turns out that was why. So they shut it down, and, you know, Quire's all good again. I do believe that the Quentin Quire aspect to this series has been pretty decent. And again, you know, he's also dating a Stepford Cuckoo. I can't remember which one it is, but it's just kind of brought... He used to be so full of himself, right? And he's kind of becoming a more enjoyable character, at least so far. Maybe a little bit, still feel full of himself, but not as much. So we have Hellfire Gala issue, and in this issue, I don't remember the exact details again, but Beast had, I think, maybe taken control of the Terraviridians, and X-Force finds out, and they force him to like relinquish that control. But then, you know, they lash out, which is what leads into the Wolverine issue, where, you know, they're dealing with that. They're dealing with the repercussions there. All right, so then there's this issue where they encounter manslaughter. I think actually there's 2 issues. Whatever, it wasn't very memorable. I think that was when they're doing the whole Man-Thing stuff in Marvel. So, alright, that is X-Force. We're getting there. We're almost there. Alright, so X-Men. There's a lot of X-Men, I feel. Oh. Got it. Take a quick look. Alright. Sure, there we go. Yeah. Alright, X-Men issues 17 through 21, and then they ended that volume and started another volume, and I've read issues 1 through 5 of that. So, the X-Men assist the Shi'ar, and I don't remember, that was, again, I think maybe that might be the one where they then established a portal to the Shi'ar. But this issue, 18 and 19, were absolutely incredible. This was like peak writing. So here we have X-23, Synch, and Darwin enter the Vault. So the Vault is this place where time passes much more rapidly. I'm not sure where this came from, like which writer came up with this, but yeah, it's like this city inside this mountain that just... It has like, I don't know if they're not really mutants there, but there's like these people that just keep evolving, I guess. I don't know. And just even the fact that X-23, Synch, and Darwin are there, like that's actually assisting the Vault in learning about their abilities to make better anti-mutants or something. I don't know. But what I loved about this was it's really, you got these three characters who go there. They went there because they can survive it. They can survive the passage of time. That's why they're the ones going in. And their goal is to see what's going on with the Vault and to bring that information back. Well, they spend roughly 500 years or more there in their time. Just trying to figure it out. And ultimately, they're just trying to escape. Like, that's what they're trying to escape for the longest time. And they're having issues with that. And what was amazing, I guess, about this, which is really solid writing in my opinion, was that finally Sync gets out, right? He's able to get out. But X-23 is like, no, you have to go. I can hold them off. You have to go. So he escapes and dies. But the other two, I don't remember what happened with Darwin, but they're still in there, but they're going to die. Like that was the impression. I mean, I guess it's possible that they're alive, but the assumption is that they're dead, right? And so the X-Men resurrect all three of them. Now, only one of them. So when Sync gets out, he calls out the professor, like mentally. He's like, "Do you hear me? I'm out." And so Xavier backs him up before he dies. So Sync, when he's resurrected, has all the knowledge of living for 500 years, right? But when X-23 and Darwin are resurrected, they don't have that knowledge. They're backed up from before they went in. And so Sync, who's been like, Sync and X-23 are lovers, and they bonded over that time, and now like Sync has all that emotion for X-23, and she doesn't remember any of it, like he went through all that with her, but she doesn't remember any of it, and never will, really, presumably. So that, I don't know, that was just like, man, that really hit me. I was like, I felt that right here. So that was solid. Here was issue 19 with some of the other villains that were going up against. So in issue 20, we get more information about the Project Orcus. So Orcus is the group that's looking to return, or trying to build the Master Mold Sentinels. And Mystique makes a deal with Xavier and Magneto saying, "I'll go on this suicide mission if you bring back Destiny." And she does. She fails on her mission, and so they don't bring her back. But of course, they were never going to bring her back. So, yeah. And so we've already talked a little bit about that already with the Inferno series, but that just kind of like led more into Mystique saying, "Okay, I got to do this on my own to get Destiny resurrected." And then the whole Project Orcus thing, I mean, I find it interesting. We find out later, I don't know if it was in that issue or not, but the Guardian, from Canada is in on it. So is Henry Gyrick, who's always like the evil politician guy. So yeah. And we have issue 21. I don't have it here. That's the Hellfire Gala issue, and that's where the new X-Men team was announced. Actually, one thing I'm not covering here actually is the planet-sized X-Men, and I did mention a little bit earlier. They had essentially the Omega level mutants terraformed Mars into a livable planet that Arakko could be on. So they essentially took all the Arakko mutants and shoved them up from their island on Earth onto this planet, and then they actually used, like, between Sword and Arakko, aka Planet Mars, they're now like they're trying to like position mutants and Earth as a part of the galaxy. It's funny because like Earth is always like where the best heroes are from and all that, but they always refer to it as a backwater planet. But this is kind of putting them on the map. They introduced a new currency to the galaxy because there was some kind of economic woes going on. And so they're creating like this galaxy standard currency. Maybe it was there's the Shi'ar logic diamonds. I guess those are different. I forgot what they called the currency that they created. And maybe, I believe it was like a type of metal that all sorts of whatever, all sorts of properties that were beneficial. All right, so we have the new series of X-Men. Not kind of a lot going on. There's a background villain kind of brewing called Dr. Stasis. The X-Men set up a base in Central Park, which I really liked because it brought them back to Earth in a way. Like, Krakoa, and I think I mentioned this in a previous video, like, I do like Krakoa as a concept and a good ground level for the mutant population, but I still want them to be a part of Earth, right? I want them to save people and be, don't just, like, splinter off and be like, we're better than you, but here's some stuff, but it, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. So here they're getting back to, I guess, civilization, or society, I guess, and they create this base in Central Park. It's formed out of a tree, which is kind of cool. Another background thing happening here is that reporter Ben Urich is figuring out that mutants are being resurrected. All right, so I don't know. For some reason, that storyline just kind of irks me a bit because, hello, Marvel Universe, people are returning from the dead all the frickin' time. All the time. And now he's like, oh, wait a minute. Mutants are returning from the dead. Okay. There's this character, Jumbo Carnation, who is friends with Emma Frost, and he's like a fashion... I don't know what his actual power is, but he's big into fashion, right? And he's the one that created a lot of the costumes for the Hellfire Gala, for the characters. And Ben Urich's like, wait a minute, I thought Jumbo died. Hello? Cyclops died. You're talking to Cyclops, and he had died. It's just sort of I don't know, it just sort of felt weird to me. I hope it goes somewhere. I mean, I hope it plays out well and just takes what I'm talking about and sort of turns it on its head or something. I don't know, but I'm just a little, or maybe it just requires a suspension of disbelief and just okay. A lot of stories require that, so that's fine. In terms of what they've actually been doing, they did a little bit of world saving. They faced off against a high evolutionary, which is pretty, it's a pretty decent story, honestly. Here's that one. There was an issue. I really actually meant to do a video on this one thing I'm going to talk about, but I didn't do the research, and so I still haven't. And so, issue 4, I believe, was solicited as this whole new character, this whole new, I don't know, thing happening. The Headless Horseman. I swear to God, I mean, if you read this book, let me know. But was there not a Headless Horseman in that comic? I don't think there was. I don't know. In the solicitation, we talked about it. Now, it was all about the return of Nightmare, this psychic entity, which was all right. A little bit of mutant posturing, in my opinion. Jean Grey being whatever, dude. I'm way more powerful than you. Go away. But yeah. So I don't know. I am definitely interested to see where this series is going to go. All right. So with that said, now we're going to talk about my top 5 storylines. All right. So I don't know if you noticed, I was actually pulling these aside as we went. But, so starting off, Marauders number 17. This is the Storm and Callisto battling in the Crucible. And so I just, it was kind of endearing. I don't know. I just really like the story. The Crucible thing is kind of weird, but it does create a weird, an even more powerful bond between the characters. Right, then we have Sword number 8. So this is Storm. More Storm. Gotta love the Wind Rider. This is where she's defending her place as Regent of Mars, and I just love that she's so badass, right? And she's taking on some of those powerful mutants of this warrior nation and winning. You know, like that's how clutch she is. So that was super cool. Really enjoyed it. All right, now number 3 is X-Force 24. And I don't know, I have this somewhere in my piles. I couldn't find it. Maybe I'll put it up here somewhere there. But so X-Force 24 is the one where it's revealed that Colossus is being mind controlled somehow. And it involves the tragic murder of his lover by him. So that was kind of gripping, you know, and like really sets the stage for some bad stuff coming down the line. All right, then we have Inferno, number 1. So just bringing back like I said before, the core of the whole X-Men mythos story under Hickman, with the return of Destiny. Really, I don't know. It just opens so many doors for where they might go. I just loved it. And then finally, and I think, you know, if you remember me talking about this one at length, there are issues 18 and 19 of X-Men. This is one where X-23 and Sync and Darwin enter the vault. Just, you know, it was enjoyable, it was interesting, and the very end was a gut punch. So just loved it. All right, well then finally, I'm gonna go through what my top 5 series are. Now what I didn't do is set aside a comic for each one of these, so let's see how we can do this. Number 5 is Sword. Come on, here we go. Number 5 is Sword. Now, I mentioned this series is a little bit all over the place. In terms of, you know, had to connect into King of Black, then it connects into Last Annihilation and the Gala, Hellfire Gala. But overall, just really enjoyed that series. So after that, see if I can find a good one. Here we go. Number 4. Whoops. Actually, number 3. Number 4 are the Helions. So I don't know if I can remember all these. Sword was written by Al Ewing. I believe Helions is Zeb Wells, right? Zeb Wells. Yep. Just, I don't know. Like, it's the misfits of the mutants, and to think that I'm reading about Nanny and Orphan Maker, like these C-list villains, you know, and they're here as a part of this team. It's just, I don't know, it's pretty cool. I like seeing Wild Child. You have the old Marauder. I always forget his name, like Greymane or something. But yeah, really an enjoyable series. I would definitely recommend that. And then number 3, Marauders. Actually, I mean, honestly, a lot of the stuff I really loved is probably from 2020. But I just really enjoy this series overall. And it's changing up a little bit. And it's interesting that, you know, Sebastian Shaw was such a, I guess, the antagonist early on. But now he's kind of a believer in Emma and Kitty Pryde. At least it seems. You never know. But it's, yeah. Like, even the space stuff, it's like, all right, I dig it. Like, there's something that occurred in space. I believe it was Iceman. Like, they're all, like, jettisoned out into space. And sure, they can die and be resurrected, but they instead fight to survive out in space. And I believe, is it just Iceman that does it? I'm not sure how it all went down, how they lived, but they did. It was pretty cool. All right, then number 2. Oh, come on. Where do these comics mysteriously go to? That's what I want to know. All right, well, I can just use this. X-Men. So, may have been number 1 if it was still Hickman, but I don't remember who's writing it now. Oh, here it is. I want to use this. Duggan? I don't know the Greg Duggan. I'm not sure what his name is. But, you know, it's enjoyable. And the artwork, who's the artist? Larez? I don't know. Love the artwork. Just love it. But we'll see. The only reason why I didn't put it as number 1 is because, I mean, I was sort of torn, but I guess, like, you know, shifting the creative team wasn't so, you know, like, I've read 5 issues, right? So, like, I have some idea of where it's going, and I'm enjoying it. However, lastly, the number 1 X-Men Mythos series for me here it's Excalibur. It is Excalibur. Just, you know, I think, like, one thing that really has going for it is that it is this long-running story. It's pretty much going, like, New Mutants, it kind of has a lot of different storylines going on. Excalibur is really, I mean, there's a few, like, sub-stories and stuff going on, but, like, it's all kind of going in the same direction. So I'm really enjoying that quite a bit. You know, I did mention that I'm going to miss Apocalypse being on the book, like a creative member, in the book as kind of a leadership figure, but I'm still enjoying it quite a bit. And, you know, they're playing with a lot of new stuff with the Otherworld and really fleshing that out. I mean, I remember very start when they talked about Otherworld, I was like, oh yeah, there's this Otherworld thing, right? And now it's like, oh yeah, there's all these different areas, and you know, there's this vampire area and all that. So I don't know, I'm really enjoying it. So I think, yeah, like, hopefully, you know, 2022 is gonna have some more good stuff. But if you're looking for any X-Men book to read, I mean, Sword, Helions, Marauders, X-Men, Excalibur. Maybe it kind of depends on what you're looking for, but they're all super solid books, in my opinion. So, all right, we are actually at the end. Hope you survived. Really appreciate you watching, whether it was all at once, in parts, just a little bit, you know, whatever. So, let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of this recap of the X-Men Mythos for the year. Was it worthwhile, enjoyable? You know, is it kind of a wasted effort? But I wanted to get it done, and yeah, so that's that. So thank you so much for watching. Again, comment below. Would love to hear your thoughts. Obviously, like and subscribe really means the world to me. Hope to see you next time. Have a good one.